to start today with a scenario that I think is going to painfully resonate with pretty much everyone listening.
Oh, absolutely.
So picture this. You're in a meeting, you pitch an idea, right? Something you've been working on for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You finish, there's this long pause, and then someone looks at you and says, that's interesting.
That's classic.
And you leave the room thinking, okay, interesting is good. I mean, interesting means they're engaged, right?
I think so.
But then it's just absolute radio silence. The project never gets approved, nobody follows up, and you're just left staring at your inbox wondering what on earth happened.
It's the classic corporate magic trick. You walked in with a real proposal and you walked out with a polite rejection that, well, it sounded suspiciously like a compliment.
Exactly. It drives me crazy. And that is exactly what we're deep diving into today, this concept of office English. And look, I'm not talking about regular buzzwords here. We all know what synergy means or, low-hanging fruit.
Right, the jargon.
Yeah, the jargon. What we're doing today is our mission to give you a translator for the actual secret code. That pervasive, kind of maddening indirectness that seems to be the default language of the modern workplace.
It really is a completely distinct dialect.
It is. It's a language where the literal dictionary definition of a word and the actual office meaning are just, well, often total opposites.
And you're totally right to be frustrated by it. But from a linguistic perspective, looking at the sources for today's deep dive, it's actually fascinating. We're looking at research that frames this not just as people being passive-aggressive or annoying, but as a highly evolved social survival mechanism.
A survival mechanism. That feels maybe a little dramatic. I just feel like people are afraid to be honest.
Well, think about the environment you're in. The linguistic analysis we're diving into describes this fundamental tension, a battle between clarity and harmony.
Clarity and harmony.
Yeah. In a high-stakes professional setting, absolute clarity often feels like aggression. So if I look at your report and I just say, this is wrong.
Ouch.
Yeah. Right. I'm being clear. But I'm completely destroying the social harmony. I'm essentially attacking you.
Yeah.
In sociology, they call it attacking someone's face.
Okay, so to save my feelings, and I guess to keep the Tuesday morning stand-up from turning into a fist fight, you use code.
Exactly. But it actually goes a lot deeper than just being nice. The sources talk about this concept called mitigated speech.
Mitigated speech.
Right, it's a linguistic tool. It's actually studied heavily in really high-stakes environments. Think aviation or surgery.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's when you intentionally downplay the urgency or the directness of a statement to respect the hierarchy or to avoid direct conflict with a superior.
Okay, so instead of the co-pilot yelling, hey, we're going to crash, they say something like, Captain, there seems to be a bit of an issue with the altitude.
Precisely. And in the office setting, that mitigation is just constant. It's everywhere. And it serves a couple of key purposes. One, obviously, it protects relationships.
Right, it's face-saving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But two, and this is the kind of cynical part we found in the research, it offers plausible deniability.
Oh. How so?
Well, if a manager gives a really vague, soft instruction and then the project totally fails, they can turn around and say, well, I didn't order them to do it that way. I just made a suggestion.
Wow. That is incredibly sneaky. It's like they're hedging their bets against their own team.
It's a way to exercise power without looking like you're actually exercising power.
Yeah.
It maintains this nice illusion of a flat hierarchy, like, oh, we're all just collaborators here, while at the same time absolutely enforcing the chain of command.
That makes total sense, but man, it is exhausting because it requires everyone to constantly be running this sort of translation app in the back of their brain.
It's a heavy cognitive load.
So let's save our listeners some of that processing power. Let's actually go through the phrase book that was outlined in the source material. These are the heavy hitters.
The classics.
The phrases we hear every single day that just flat out do not mean what they say.
Let's decode them. What's first?
Well, we have to start with the one I opened with. That's interesting because to me, in the real world, that means I am intrigued. Tell me more.
Right. In a normal social setting, sure. But in a boardroom, that's interesting, is almost always a non-aggressive dismissal.
A dismissal?
Yeah. It is a placeholder. It translates to, I disagree, or I'm confused, or very often, I don't like this, but I really don't want to be the one to kill the idea right this second.
It's the coward's way out.
But think about it. It's efficient. Look at the alternative. If you pitch an idea and I say, that's awful.
Yeah, the room totally freezes.
Exactly. The adrenaline spikes.
Yeah.
Suddenly we have a conflict to manage. But if I say, that's interesting, I've acknowledged that you spoke.
Right.
I haven't committed to a single thing.
Yeah.
And I can easily pivot to the next topic without, blood on the floor.
So if I hear, that's interesting, and then an immediate subject change, my idea is dead.
It is likely on life support, yes.
Good to know. Okay, next one. This one is honestly the bane of my existence. Let's circle back.
The ultimate procrastination tool.
Yeah. But it sounds so dynamic, like circling back implies movement, right? It implies we are on a journey and we will inevitably return to this very important point.
Sure, but notice that circle back rarely ever comes with a timestamp.
Oh, that's...
Almost never. Let's circle back at 2 p.m. on Thursday.
Yeah.
Just eventually.
Yeah.
The linguistic analysis identifies this as performative productivity.
Performative productivity. I love that term.
Right. Because it sounds like you're managing time efficiently. Like you're saying, oh, we just don't have time for this nuance right now. But functionally, it means this topic is messy. I really don't want to deal with it. And I'm hoping if we ignore it long enough, it'll just go away.
So it's basically the snooze button of corporate conversation.
That is exactly what it is. And just like the snooze button, you often end up oversleeping. The danger with, let's circle back, is that really important issues often get circled right into the trash can.
Yikes.
Yeah, so if you hear this about a critical flaw in a project, you need to be very careful. That's not a deferral. That's avoidance.
All right, I have one that I actually use all the time, so I'm definitely part of the problem here. I'll keep that in mind.
The trap.
Why is it a trap? I always feel like I'm being receptive when I say that.
Because it traps the listener into thinking they've actually been heard and validated. If you tell me, I'll keep that in mind, I walk away thinking, great, my input has been filed away for future use.
Right.
But usually what you actually mean is, I completely disagree with you, I'm not going to do what you just said, but I'm really not going to argue with you about it.
Okay, guilty. I've definitely used it to just end a conversation with someone who wouldn't stop giving me unhelpful advice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the verbal equivalent of marking an email as read.
Yes.
You've acknowledged receipt, but you have zero intention of acting on it. The real problem arises when the person giving the advice is your boss or a key stakeholder.
Oh, right, because they hear, I'll keep that in mind, and they think I've agreed to the change.
Exactly. And then 2 weeks later, when you haven't done it, they're absolutely furious.
So I think I'm being perfectly polite, but they think I'm being actively insubordinate.
Correct. The ambiguity that was supposed to save the moment actually sabotages the future.
Wow. Okay, and this actually brings us to a really critical part of the deep dive. We've been kind of joking about these phrases being annoying, but the sources point out that this office English can actually be dangerous for your career.
Highly dangerous.
Especially when it comes to instructions from superiors.
Right. This is where the stakes go from just an awkward meeting to a completely botched project. The most dangerous area of office English is the soft command.
The soft command. Give me an example of that.
Okay. Let's say you're working on a really tight deadline. You're stressed. And your boss sends you a message that says, it would be great if we could get this drafted by tonight.
Okay. To me, it would be great if, sounds like a wish. Like, it would be great if I won the lottery, or it'd be great if it didn't rain.
Right.
It sounds totally optional. Like, if I can do it, cool. If not, no big deal. It was just a wish.
And that interpretation will get you fired. Yes. In office English, when a superior says to a subordinate, it would be great if, they are not expressing a wish. They are giving an order.
Wow.
The direct translation is, I need this done by tonight.
Then why on earth don't they just say, do this by tonight?
Because of that clarity versus harmony tension we talked about earlier. A direct command feels authoritarian. It feels like 1950s management style.
Yeah.
Modern leaders want to be seen as partners. They want to lead through consensus, not decree.
Sure.
So they soften the edges. They wrap the order in politeness to maintain that harmony.
But that puts the entire burden of decoding the message on the employee.
It does. And here is where it gets really messy. There's a case study in the sources about a major project launch. The manager told the team lead, I'm a little concerned about the timeline.
Okay.
The project lead heard that and thought, okay, this is a minor worry, but we're good. What the manager actually meant was, we're going to miss the launch, stop everything, and fix this immediately.
Oh, no. And the project lead just kept going as normal?
Yes. Because I'm a little concerned, sounds like low-level anxiety, doesn't sound like a stop work order. So the project failed, the launch was delayed, and the manager blamed the lead for ignoring the warning.
That is just maddening, because the manager felt they were being perfectly clear by expressing concern.
Right.
But the employee felt totally blindsided because the language was so mitigated.
And this happens constantly. We expect people to read the volume of our concern through our tone rather than our words. But in an email or on Slack, tone is completely stripped away.
Yeah, you can't hear tone in text.
Exactly. I'm not sure about this. It can be read as a passing, casual thought or a severe project-ending critique.
So if the system is so fundamentally flawed and leads to so many communication disasters, how do you actually win? I mean, we can't just go around shaking people and demanding they speak plainly. We'll look like psychopaths.
No, you can't be the truth hammer in a world of pillows. You'll just alienate everyone around you. You have to be strategic. The sources suggest a few specific tactics to cut through the fog without destroying the harmony.
Let's get into the toolkit then, because I think everyone listening needs this. Strategy number 1, the clarifying question.
Yes, this is your absolute best defense against the soft command.
Okay.
When you hear something vague like, it would be great to have this soon, or I'm a little concerned,
Yeah.
do not guess.
Right.
You need to force the other person to commit to a specific meaning. But, and this is key, you have to do it politely.
Right. I can't just reply, stop being vague, what do you actually mean?
Exactly. You frame the question around your desire to help them.
Oh, nice.
You say something like, just to be sure I'm prioritizing this correctly against my other work. Do you need this completed by 5 p.m. today?
Oh, that's really good. You're putting it on yourself. Like, I want to do a good job, so help me help you.
Exactly. It forces them to switch out of social mode and into operational mode. They have to give you a straight yes or no. If they say no, tomorrow's fine, you've bought yourself time. If they say yes, 5 p.m., you've successfully avoided a disaster.
It strips away all the ambiguity without being rude at all. I love that. Okay, what about when you're the one trying to push back? The sources outline strategy number 2 as mirroring.
Mirroring is all about reading the linguistic culture of the room. We often talk about code switching in linguistics.
Sure.
If you are in a culture, or even just a specific meeting, where everyone is using high-level mitigation,
Yeah.
lots of phrases like, I wonder if, or perhaps we
Very
could.
soft.
Very soft. If you come into that space and say, this is wrong, do it this way, you will be rejected. Not because your idea is wrong, but because you're culturally out of sync.
You're the bull in the china shop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're suddenly the aggressive one. So the strategy here is to wrap your hard truth in their soft language.
How does that sound in practice?
Instead of saying, this idea won't work, you say, I'm somewhat concerned that this approach might not get us the result we want.
You're saying the exact same thing. It won't work. But you're using their specific dialect.
You're signaling to them, I am one of you, I am polite, I am safe. And that makes them much more likely to actually listen to the objection instead of getting defensive.
Oh, wait, what if the room is different? Because I've had bosses who are incredibly direct. If I use, I'm somewhat concerned with them, they'll eat me alive.
And that's the flip side of mirroring. If you are dealing with a direct communicator or someone from an ask culture who really values brevity, then mitigated speech actually sounds like weakness.
Interesting.
To them, it sounds like you don't know what you're talking about. In that case, you have to mirror the directness. You just say, this won't work because of X.
So the real skill here isn't just memorizing the codes, it's assessing the room, it's emotional intelligence.
Perfectly said. It's seeing language as a tool, not a strict rule. You adjust the tool to fit the material you're working with at that moment.
Makes total sense. Now, there's one more scenario from the research I want to touch on before we wrap up. The conflicting soft command. What happens when you have two bosses, or maybe a client and a boss, and they're both giving you vague, polite, completely contradictory instructions?
This is the nightmare scenario of office English. Boss A says, it would be nice to focus on the presentation. Boss B says, I was hoping we could prioritize the data set.
Right. Both sound like casual suggestions. Both are actually strict orders. But you literally cannot do both at the same time.
And if you just guess, you're guaranteed to make one of them angry.
Exactly. So what do you do?
This is where you have to break the fourth wall. You have to bring the conflict out into the light. You cannot mitigate your way out of this trap.
So you have to be direct.
Yes. You send an email to both of them, seeing them together, and you say, I have received a request to prioritize the presentation and a request to prioritize the data set. Given the time constraints, I can only complete one by EOD. Which would you prefer I tackle first?
Oof, that feels scary. You're essentially putting them in a cage match.
You are. But more importantly, you are absolving yourself of the failure. You are making the resource scarcity their problem to solve as managers, not your problem to stress over.
That's brilliant.
Right. Because if you try to guess and you fail, it's entirely your fault. If you ask them to choose, it's a management decision.
That is a massive shift in mindset, is stopping the whole game of guess what I'm thinking and forcing an actual business decision.
Exactly. You step out of the game.
As we talk about all of this, I'm just realizing how much energy is wasted on this stuff every single day.
Oh, it's huge.
Think about it. How many hours a week do we all spend decoding emails, second-guessing tones, and having follow-up meetings just to clarify the vague things said in previous meetings?
It is a massive, massive tax on productivity. But, and here is the provocation I really want to leave you with today, is it a necessary tax?
What do you mean by that?
Well, we spent this whole time analyzing how to navigate this system, right? How to survive it.
Yeah.
But we should step back and ask, what is the true cost of the system itself?
Okay.
If we prioritize harmony over clarity every single day, what innovations are we killing?
Ugh, that's a heavy thought.
Think about it. Radical innovation usually requires telling someone that the current way of doing things is completely wrong.
Right. It disrupts things.
It requires conflict. It requires breaking the harmony. So if our entire corporate language is designed to suppress conflict and prioritize being nice, are we actually creating an artificial ceiling on how good our companies can actually be?
Wow. So by saying that's interesting, instead of just saying that's a dead end, we're keeping the peace, sure, but we're maybe completely stalling progress.
We are repeatedly choosing comfort over excellence.
That is deeply uncomfortable, but probably very true.
The next time you find yourself softening a critique or deleting a direct sentence in an email to replace it with a, maybe we could,
Yeah.
just ask yourself, am I being polite or am I just hiding the problem?
I think a lot of us are hiding the problem. Well, on that cheery note, look, this has been incredibly useful. I genuinely feel like I have a decoder ring for my inbox now.
Good. Use it wisely.
I absolutely will. And for everyone listening, next time your boss says, it would be great if, do not just smile and nod, clarify, confirm, and cover your bases. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.